There we go. I'm sorry, y'all. This is your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to the War on Gaza report. This is what happens when I'm left by myself, man, and my producer's not here. I'm just hitting buttons. I'm just making my head disappear, making music go 10 times. I apologize. But it's time for the War on Gaza report. I know we're getting started just a little bit late, and the reason is because we just had a wonderful office hours with Dr. Josh Myers talking about Black Studies. So if you missed that, check it out on the channel. It's called What is Black Studies? And it's an in-depth analysis and conversation on the meaning of Black Studies, the origins of Black Studies, the purpose of Black Studies, and the direction of Black Studies. Stella, I swear to God, I'm not even sleepy right now. I just don't know how to hit the right button sometimes. Don't pay me no mind. I see people asking about PayPal, by the way, Light Skin Bandit Game. And I saw you say that in the last session as well. The PayPal link is scrolling at the bottom. It's paypal.me/tvmlh. Make sure you check that out. All right, Odette. Don't be trying to make Princess feel too valuable. She all right. Anyway, y'all, let's get started. We got obviously some very serious issues to talk about tonight. Every single night here on the channel, we talk about the war on Gaza. Israel's war on Gaza is something that we take very seriously, and it's something that we want to end. And so, unlike corporate media, unlike mainstream outlets, we try to give you an in-depth, rigorous, critical analysis of what's happening so that we can move forward and do the work of actually ending the war. And again, we don't call it a war in Gaza, we call it a war on Gaza. And the war on Gaza has reached day 226. And as always, family, we begin with the numbers. As of today, 35,456 people have been killed. 79,476 people have been wounded, both in Israeli attacks on Gaza since October 7th. I'm going to say those numbers just one more time. 35,456 people have been killed. 79,476 people have been wounded in Israeli attacks on Gaza since October 7th. Also, the death toll in Israel from Hamas's attack on October 7th is 1,139, with dozens of people still held captive. Those numbers continue to grow precisely because of the intensity of the war, the multiple directions and theaters in which or on which the Israeli military is fighting the Palestinian people and fighting the people of Gaza, and because of the complicity of the global community as Israel wages its relentless assault on both the north and the south, and even the center part of the Gaza Strip. But we're going to start right now by talking about the north. Fierce fighting continues in northern Gaza, with Israeli jet, helicopter, and artillery attacks reported on the Jabalia refugee camp, as Doctors Without Borders warns that El Ouda hospital in the area has completely run out of water. I want to say that one more time. El Ouda hospital in the area has completely run out of water. When this all started on October 7th, this phase of the violence, we began to see hospitals run out of electricity, water, access to the most basic and fundamental things that hospitals have to run on. We saw that with Al-Shifa Hospital, for example. But now, as we are in month 7 and are almost halfway through month 7, the global community has seen what's happening. They've seen Israel exercise power, not just on the people, but on the civil society, destroying mosques and schools and buildings and hospitals. And yet we're still in a space where a hospital could completely run out of water. That is shameful. And hopefully something can be done about it. But the challenge has been accessing water, in particular, in the north in particular, has been increasingly difficult. When you look in the villages, you've seen, I think, as of a month ago, there were 119 wells destroyed. So access to water for people was difficult. But when you start cutting water lines, or people don't have access to the water lines, that makes things even worse. All right, let's keep going. Jordan's foreign minister, Ayman Safadi, calls for an international probe into, quote, war crimes committed during Israel's war on Gaza. The tough words came after Israel killed 31 people in Nusrat refugee camp and intensified their air and ground attacks across Gaza. Again, you rarely see a singular strike. Even as you hear me, it's like, okay, they're going to go into Nusrat refugee camp, but they're also going to go to the south. Oh, they're going to intensify fighting in Rafah, but they're also going to stand 10 toes in northern Gaza. I mean, this is a common thing that we're seeing in this particular war. Martin Griffiths, the UN humanitarian chief, has warned of, quote, apocalyptic consequences of aid shortages in Gaza as key Rafah and Kadam Abu Salam crossings remain, quote, effectively blocked. And that word effective, that work effectively blocked is an important one, because what the Israeli government will often say is, oh, it's not blocked, it's free, or, there's no blockade, it's we left in 2006, or we don't occupy this, or these words are often escape hatches for something that's really happening. So the border may not be literally closed, but if Israel is effectively taking it over and has complete control over what goes in and what goes out, who goes in and what goes out, it might be open, they're just not letting anybody through, which is a distinction without a difference. Martin Griffiths also sat down with Al Jazeera in an interview with one of my colleagues to talk about all of what's happening. And so it's important to understand that the lack of humanitarian aid entering the Gaza Strip is itself a form of violence. Anyway, we're not going to stay long tonight on this, but I wanted to at least give you a quick update. As of now, Rafah is completely being emptied, or evacuated is probably a better word. People are legitimately struggling to figure out where to go, because once you leave Rafah, the entire region is dangerous at this point because of the Israeli military. You see, Hamas announced yesterday that they are going to fight a, quote, war of attrition, meaning that they are not going to relent. They're going to continue to defend historic Palestine in the north from their perspective, as long as they have the capacity. It'll be interesting to see how the world responds to what's happening in the north at the kind of face-offs, but also how Israel responds to it, particularly now that they're being increasingly isolated by the global community. It's something that they have to at least think about. Anyway, that is the War on Gaza report. I'll be back a little bit later because I have one more thing I want to do tonight on the channel. I apologize for the lateness of it. I was coming from New York. I was emceeing on behalf of Malcolm X's daughters, Malcolm X's 99th birthday party at what was the Audubon Ballroom, what is now the El Hajj Malik or the Malcolm X and Dr. Betty Shabazz Community Education, Culture and Education Center. It's such an important thing to do, and it's part of this tradition. We talk about you can't talk about Malcolm X and not talk about Palestine. You can't talk about Malcolm X and not talk about global solidarity. You can't talk about Malcolm X and not talk about Gaza even. So we're going to continue to cover it. We're going to continue to give you all the information that we have. And again, I look forward to building with you all later, but I will definitely see you tomorrow. So thank you, everybody. God bless you.